Today I'm in the beautiful Lancaster Cemetery in Lancaster, Kentucky. This is the city seat for Garrett County. This cemetery was established back in 1861. Here, veterans from every major conflict, including the Civil War, have been laid to rest. This town is approximately 3,800 people, and it has a large number of dark stories in its past. One in particular, the story of a policeman, George Pollard. In 1906, Lancaster was barely out of the times of the Wild West. This was pre-Prohibition days, but the county was enforced as a dry county, which of course produced bootleggers, and they occupied part of the town known as the Chute. Much like today, people felt that the law was being trampled on, and criminals could get away with just about anything. This was the exact notion of William Humber. He felt he could harass the local law enforcement and no one would stop him. The notion that there was local option law in Lancaster seemed wholly unfair. And local option law is basically choosing to be a dry county. Monday, April 6, 1903, William Humber was instigating trouble with policeman Pollard and made a move for his gun. Pollard got the jump on him though and hit Humber in the head with a stick and promptly took him to jail. Later that day, Humber posted bond and went on the hunt for policeman Pollard. As soon as he laid eyes on him, Humber fired multiple rounds at Pollard, mortally wounding him. Another lawman was near and took one shot, hitting Humber in the chest, but it did not kill him. Instead, he was taken, patched up, and brought to jail. Pollard was taken to a nearby doctor as well, but died minutes later. Wednesday, April 8th, 1906, George Pollard was laid to rest. Businesses closed early, and nearly all 1,200 residents attended his funeral. And right over here is where George is laid to rest. Less than a year later, his wife Mitty would pass away from typhoid fever, January of 1907. They had left behind 7 children. Now, Pollard was so popular that the townsfolk of Lancaster were very angry, and the calls for a hanging could be heard in every corner of town. They wanted justice for George Pollard, who was well respected. So much so that a collection was gathered to the sum of nearly $800 for his widow, Mitty Jane, and their 7 children. It had been years since the last hanging in 1882, and many wanted to see its return. However, the court sentenced Humber to just 21 years, which was basically a complete shock to the townsfolk when they really wanted to see justice done for the slaying of Officer Pollard. But yet the townsfolk will get the last laugh, and stay tuned for what happens to William Humber. Just want to take a brief moment and show you just how beautiful this cemetery is. There's a pond right over yonder. Some very beautiful monuments here, a lot of obelisks, and a lot of these very large monuments. It's actually quite a beautiful place. We are right in the middle of town, so it is surrounded by homes for the most part, but it is still fairly quiet on this Monday evening right at rush hour. This is one interesting monument. It's a sash or what have you on an obelisk. I am not sure what the meaning of that is, but I love the inscription. for William Bruce. I don't know how well you can make that out, but he had died in 1860 in his 59th year. Anne, wife of William Bruce, died August 16th, 1879 on her 79th birthday. She beat him by 20 years. With this, where it says, "Life's rage well run, now comes rest." I thought that was great. You don't see a lot of artistry in monuments today. This one is really nice. But let's continue on with the story of William Humber, who had slain Officer Pollard. After just 4 years of prison, Humber was pardoned. Once freed, he did move to Indiana and married a woman, Cora Janice Bell Leedy, in 1913. But crime was in his blood, and on December 25th, 1913, Christmas Day, Humber was arrested for highway robbery. He had been married for just over a month, and Cora promptly filed for divorce. By 1922, William Humber returned to Lancaster, where he finally met his fate. In October of 1922, he died from injuries sustained from being run over by a truck, ruled as an accident. The criminal life of William Humber is now over, and Policeman Pollard has finally seen justice. And that's his stone right there. December 30, 1872 to October 28, 1922. This is the Humber plot, and there are other relatives here with him. And he is actually a stone's throw right over there from Officer Pollard. You know, what's funny is guys like that, they often think that they're above the law, that the law doesn't apply to them and they can do what they want. And a lot of that matches with what's going on today. Even back in 1906, he felt that way. He didn't pay a lot of price in prison, but his life was not very long. And I suppose some may see that as justice. To me, it's just very sad. And some people are just destined for crime. So you think back to those times. It was 1922. It had only been 16 years since Humber had been arrested after killing George Pollard and sentenced to just 21 years, released after 4. You wonder how much that weighed on the minds of those folks that really loved George Pollard. Remember, there was only about 1,200 people in town at that time, and they all showed up to his funeral. They all donated and came up with about $800. Back in those days, that was a whole lot of money for his family. And I'm thinking, now of course this is just my interpretation and my thoughts on it, my spin on it. Was the driver of that truck that hit Humber, did he just look away for just a second, seeing him in the street? Did his foot just slip off the brake? Did his foot just hit the gas by accident? You know, did something fall off his seat and he went to go fetch it for just a moment? That's a decision that you'd have to make yourself after hearing this story. But just 16 years later, everybody still remembers this. So you make your decision on what really happened to William Humber. But if you like this kind of content, if you like this story, I've got several more. Lancaster is full of dark stories. Just like, subscribe, throw me a comment. Tell me what you like. Tell me what you think I could do better. And we will definitely catch you on the next one.